Hello everyone. The question here is which of the following options correctly identifies plants shown in figure and the group it belongs to. The options given are marchantia liverwort, sphagnum moss, sphagnum liverwort, funaria moss. So as we can see children here that all the options given here belong to the category of bryophytes. So let's first try to understand how bryophytes are categorized. So these bryophytes can be broadly classified into two types, which is the liverworts or the moss. The major difference between the two is that the main plant body of the liverworts are prostrate. Now what we mean by prostrate is that suppose this is the ground in which they have to grow. They will grow parallel to the ground like this. Okay, so they will be parallel to the ground, right? This growth is known as the prostrate growth. While in case of moth, if this is the ground, let's say, the growth is erect. Erect means that it will be growing in a horizontal position like this. Okay, like this. The examples, if we have to take the examples of the liverworts, one of the famous example is marchantia, and that of moss is funaria and sphagnum. Now you see children here in the options we have been given marchantia, liverwort, sphagnum moss and all. We just have to identify this diagram to check whether the structure is prostrate or erect. So we can see here in the picture the plant is standing tall, so it is erect. So we can eliminate some of the options from here. That is for sure that it is a moss now. It's not a liverwort. So we can cancel out the options which contain the liverwort. So these two wouldn't be the options. So the answer could be either the sphagnum moss or the funaria moss. Now initially children, we have seen the structure of funaria is somewhat like this. It has a leafy structure like this, and from the leafy structure the sporophyte comes out, which looks somewhat like this, right? Somewhat like this. But this structure is that of funaria and it's not similar to what is shown here. So we can cancel out the option of funaria as moss, and the correct option here hence would be sphagnum moss. Okay, so now we know that it is a sphagnum and it's a moss. Let's try to understand few terms that are given here. One of the term is the Anthridial branch and Archegonial branch. Now you see, what are these Anthridial branch? The Anthridial branch is the branch which contains the male sex organ. Male sex organ. Okay. Now this is the male sex organ which is known as the antheridium, and since antheridium is present on this branch, it is known as the anthridial branch. Now here you see Archegonial branch. This is where Archegonia will be found, and this is the female sex organ of the plant. Now since this branch contains here you will find that there are some structure which are flask shaped, and they are the female structure. Hence, this branch is known as the Archegonial branch. Right? Now, you see in the male organ, which is the antheridium, it produces the male gamete, which is known as antherozoids. And these antherozoids are biflagellate, which means that two flagella will be there. These are biflagellate. While the Archegonial branch will have the female the structure sex organ which will be flask shaped like this, and inside this the egg will be found, right? So these constitute the gametes of this plant, the male gamete and the female gamete. Now let's quickly, this is about the answer, but we have to discuss some very important points about what sphagnum is, and some of the very important questions comes from there. So you see this sphagnum that we are talking about, sphagnum, this is also known as bog moss, or it is also known as peat moss. Now, why it is known as a bog moss is because it is found in the marshy area and it grows in very large numbers. Okay, it's known as the peat moss because this same plant sphagnum is also used as a fuel, and you must have heard about this peat and coal in your other subjects. Let's quickly talk about, we will talk about why this peat moss and how this develops in a little less time. Let's see a few more points about what sphagnum is. You see, this sphagnum produces an acidic substance, okay? Acidic substance. So wherever it lives, it produces an acidic substance which makes the entire environment around it acidic in nature. So what happens is, let's say if this is the sphagnum that we are talking about. Let's say this is the sphagnum we are talking about. So the older parts, what happens is, this older part, suppose this is an older part, it will detach from the plant. Okay, it will detach from the plant and will fall on the ground. So this becomes dead. But since this sphagnum produces an acidic substance, what happens is the surrounding medium is all acidic in nature. So suppose this is growing near water, so the water nearby, it will be acidic in nature. And since this environment is acidic, there is an absence of decomposers. Remember children, these are very, very important points. Decomposers. Now, what are the function of these decomposers? These decomposers are the ones which actually decay or degrade the organic material. So the branches that detach from the plant, when they fall here nearby, suppose it has fallen here, suppose it has fallen here also, and number of detached branches have been fallen, but they will not decompose at all. Since there is an absence of decomposers, they will not decompose. So what happens is, gradually over time, many branches keep on detaching from the plant, and they don't decompose. So there is a collection of huge amount of these plants in an area. Now, since they have high carbon content, and if they are not getting decomposed, ultimately due to carbonization, what happens is, due to carbonization, it develops into peat, which is used as fuel. Okay, this can be used as fuel. It's an important point, so just remember that. Now, you see, this sphagnum has also got a very important property of holding water. Holding water means that it can hold lots of water around it. So what happens is, it is also used as transshipment of living material. So remember this point, it is used as transshipment of living material. So what we mean by this is, suppose you have to transfer a plant, let's say a plant which needs to be alive for a long time. Suppose you are going by ship, and on a ship the journey is for like 20 days. And if you have to keep the plant with you, you see, if that plant is covered all around with this moss, means that the water will be retained for that much time and your plant will be alive. Okay, these were some of the important points which you need to remember about sphagnum, and that is it for the question. Thank you.